players. We do have here a Heaven on Earth Zerg player from the team Chaos Theory and Tenryu RH from Team Relentless Heroes. This is going to be the ace match. The fourth game was forfeited by Relentless Heroes because they just didn't have their player available to play Shakura's Plateau. This is going to be the Blizzard version of the map, and both players have spawned on the same side of the map. We do have Tenryu RH as the yellow Protoss player. Of course, an additional plug to their site, relentlessheroes.com. Heaven on Earth, good luck. Being very managed in this match right now, and Heaven on Earth is spawning as the purple Zerg player, so this is the ace. So both players, if they're able to win this match, they are going to be able to take home the win and advance to the semifinal to play against, I believe, the winner of the match, XPN versus Standard Gaming. I'm pretty sure that is correct. So that game will be coming up next at 10 p.m. Eastern. There is the Zerg player now moving out across. Yes, Tenryu RH does play random. He actually played quite well in the last game. That's how I roll, says Tenryu. So he's going to be trying to take this match for his team. And we'll see if... And we're going to be over here as the yellow Protoss player, going to be coming to the front, building his gateway, going to make sure he gets a nice block off. Heaven on Earth now knows his opponent is playing as the yellow Protoss player. Heaven on Earth is also going to get his expansion blocked if he does decide to go for that early. He is sending out 2 drones to be able to chase that probe away. Tenryu is checking that probe every once in a while. It looks like that probe is going to become active right now, going to be trying to block that expansion for as long as possible. Trying to throw down actually a pylon. The probe does go down, but the pylon does come up. What an annoying block there. He's going to be forced to throw up his spawning pool to be able to cope with the ever-increasing amount of minerals. And our Zerg player going to continue scouting around over here. The gas is being mined by Tenryu, and the drone going to be annoying, trying to block the cybernetics core from going down. Interesting how Tenryu did not decide to wall off over here and take a very quick second base. We'll see what he decides to do off of this. A lot of random players actually play with a lot of one basing strategies, so we'll see if Tenryu is one of those players. He did get his pylon taken out, and Heaven on Earth is getting up his natural expansion. First Zella is out for Tenryu as well, going to be walling this area off. Tenryu now chrono boosting probes as quickly as he possibly can to get out enough economy to support whatever he's going after. He still hasn't revealed much. He's now chrono boosting a Stalker. He's got the Warp Gate research on the way. There's no second guess, so he may be going for some sort of one base attack. He's building a pylon in the center of the field as well. And Heaven on Earth, I wonder if he's seen replays of Tenryu or if he's played in the past few weeks to see if he does realize that his opponent is going to be playing a lot of one basing strategies. There's another gateway coming up. Azella is advancing, Stalker and Azella now advancing across the field. Still not clear if he's actually going for a one basing strategy. There's a third gateway on the way for Tenryu now. He hasn't chrono boosted his cybernetics core, so that does indicate that he's not going to be going for too much of any pressure here. And the first Zella is now advancing over here. Queen is up, and a few drones getting pulled off the line as well. The Stalker chasing after an Overlord. Going to be coming in here and doing some additional damage. That Overlord is going to go down and supply block Heaven on Earth. A couple of Zerglings going to be advancing forward, and that Queen may also get picked off if she gets too far ahead of herself. Another Stalker also joining this force. The pylon over here is also at the ready. Oh yes, that's right. Production tab for both players as well. We got the Warp Gate research almost finished. Another Stalker going to be popping in here. Always do want to interact with the chat. I do have the chat window up, but I did get a nice message to show the production tab. And we do have the Warp Gate research now finished. And there's no fourth gateway, so we'll see how much pressure he decides to throw up off of these 3 gateways. He is saving up a lot of minerals here. Another Overlord going to be checking over here is going to be losing both of these Overlords if he is not careful. Additional Stalkers warping in. And Roach is now on the way for Heaven on Earth. If he holds this off, he's going to be in pretty good position. He's got this Overlord running away as quickly as he possibly can. It looks like we've got that Nexus coming up. So Tenri Yu is not going for any sort of all-in off of one base. A couple of Zerglings now advancing to the center. Going to get picked apart by these Zealots and Stalkers. He does see that there is a pylon over here. And we've got additional sentries warping in as well. Going to be using those to force field the ramp over here and trying to do as much damage to the natural expansion as possible. Zerglings advancing over here. And it looks like there are a couple of roaches on top of the ramp as well. 2 sentries are going to be have to be utilized as well as possible to be able to pick this off. The Zerglings are going to be running towards that proxy pylon, going to try to pick that apart. Looks like that will not be happening. More Zerglings and roaches popping out. Looks like Heaven on Earth is getting himself into a pretty good position to be able to defend any sort of push. Looks like we got a little message here. Can't really deal with that right now. We've got additional a forge coming up for Tenri Yu. So he's going to be throwing up probably a couple of cannons here, maybe to hold off any sort of big roach pressure. We've got the Zerglings now running across the field. Cannon coming up, going to be walling this area off pretty quickly. And the Zerglings are going to be seeing that they will not be able to bust in here. The expansion is up, and a couple of probes are now transferring over. That's more than a couple. We've got the main actually emptied out of probes. Robotics facility on the way for Tenri Yu. And additional roaches advancing across the field. The Zerglings are going to be trying to bust in here. There's 2 sentries with 4 force fields at the ready. He's going to need to warp in a lot more units. The roach is going to be trying to run in here. Looks like that will not happen. 1 force field does go down, so that's going to be 1 less force field to use when the time comes to attack. We've got the Lair Tech on the way for Heaven on Earth, so he's going to be getting some sort of Lair Tech. We'll see what he decides to go for. The robotics facility is almost finished. A couple more Stalkers just now warping in. Chrono Boost going down on the probes. Going to be trying to get as many of those as possible. Another Vomit going down on the hatch at the natural expansion for Heaven on Earth. Going to continue macroing up with plenty of drones. He's got plenty of saturation over here. A drone now moving to the 3rd base over here to try to take that. A couple of more Zerglings is going to be running over here. 2 cannons going to be able to hold that off very easily, along with the sentries and Stalkers at the top of the ramp. The 3rd base is on the way for Heaven on Earth. And the roaches positioning themselves on the ramp. And the Glial Reconstitution on the way for Heaven on Earth, so he's going to have those speed roaches out on the field real soon. Going to be able to use those for attack and retreat very easily. 3rd assimilator up. Tenri Yu now also getting his robotics bay for the Colossus is about to finish. A +1 ground weapons on the way for Tenri Yu as well. And Heaven on Earth is getting ahead in food right now. 100 food, 275 food as of the moment. Additional roaches popping out to the extended thermal lances on the way. An observer is checking out the base over here, seeing everything that's going on. It won't be worried about any sort of muta harassment anytime soon. Another cannon coming up, realizing that he may be in a little bit of trouble. And the observer going to be checking out the roach army over here, also headed over to the 3rd base to see if there is something over there, and indeed there is. A 3rd hatch now finished. Going to be able to saturate that pretty quickly with the very massive drone saturation that he does have at the main base and the natural expansion. Going to be sending some of those units over there real quickly. And that observer, I don't see it. Where is he? There he is. Observer now moving back to where that army is. Going to be able to spot for where that army decides to go. The Forge now finishing up the weapons level 1, not actually chrono boosting it, not actually making too many probes as of the moment. Chrono boosting nothing in the main. To another robotics facility coming up, as well as a gateway. Our Protoss player is racking up quite a bit of minerals in the bank. Chrono boosting a Colossus as well. First Colossus is already out on the field, and it looks like the Roach army is now advancing across the field. We'll see how much damage damage he's able to do. He's got the Overlords with the drop already, so he's going to be able to bypass those cannons and drop straight into the main, and this small Protoss army may not be able to hold it off. That is 6 Overlords full of roaches, and the Zerglings will also be able to distract at the front as well, and the Overlords should be going for this real soon. Another Overlord loading up, so that's a lot of drop available. We also have the Zerglings running over here, going to be able to distract by taking out that pylon, and here comes the big drop into the main. Looks like he's going to be altering his path to the south a little bit, probably drop behind here and do a lot of damage to the main. Heaven on Earth is actually still hanging out, waiting a little bit. Additional roaches being rallied. The +1 is on the way, and he's also denying this expansion. The Protoss army is now moving out a little bit, and here comes the drop into the main. The Protoss army is severely out of position. All of those roaches are going to be unloading right now, and the Protoss army is trying to squeeze into the main. Going to be focusing down that Colossus den, and down it goes. Not actually a Colossus den. The robotics facility, and the roaches are running forth. They're going to be trying to get out of here. Those Overlords also need to get out of here as well. The roaches trying to do as much damage as possible, but the Colossus, there are 3 of them, going to be able to roast this army really quickly. Heaven on Earth still at 171 food, actually targeting down a lot of essential buildings. All of the roaches getting cleaned up, and the Protoss army still stands strong. However, Heaven on Earth is actually still ahead in food. Even after throwing away that many units, the Zerglings continuing to deny the 3rd base for Tenryu. His main is actually running dry, and the army for our Protoss player is now advancing across the field with the 3 Colossus and a bunch of Stalkers. We'll see how much damage he's able to do. We did just see him steamroll a ton of roaches, and that's all that Heaven on Earth has, except for these few Corruptors now making it out onto the field. 12 roaches in the production queue, and it looks like a bunch of Overlords getting sniped over here. Heaven on Earth is going to have to be careful of that supply, losing yet another Overlord, but he does look like he did overproduce on those Overlords, so he will be able to keep his supply up. Additional roaches are continuing to spawn, getting up that 4th base as well, so it's going to be a 4-base Zerg to a 2-base Protoss real soon. If he can get this up, it will be 3-base Protoss, which is pretty even if you think about it. We've got our Zerg army continuing to mill around. Looks like he was preparing for some sort of attack through the main with the Blink Stalkers, but it looks like Tenryu is going to be swinging around to this side, gearing up to use these narrow choke points to be able to hold off the large Zerg army. We've got 2 additional Overlords full of roaches. It looks like the roaches are going to be running in, trying to get a nice surround there, running forth into this attack. And we've got the Corruptors in the air as well. The roaches trying to do as much damage as possible. A couple of Colossus getting caught in the middle, and the roaches are going to be able to take down a bunch of Colossus, and Heaven on Earth is going to be able to remax pretty quickly. And our Protoss player is actually running a little bit high on the money, so he's not actually macroing as well as he possibly could. The Corruptors quickly taking down all of the Colossi, and the Corruptor also throwing down the Corruption spell on all of the Stalkers. More Stalkers advancing across the field, and 12 roaches in the production queue yet again. Going to be trying to hold off these remaining Stalkers. Roaches trying to do as much damage as possible, rallying the roaches as well as the Corruptors to this area. Stalkers are going to be forced back as soon as these 11 more roaches spawn. However, Heaven on Earth is actually positioning his units in a very strange manner. He's got roaches running all over the place, and those Stalkers on the high ground are actually getting plenty of free shots. More roaches coming out onto the field for Heaven on Earth, joining over here with the rest of that Corruptor army. More roaches transferring over to that 4th base, which will be up and running. Tenryu getting plenty of photon cannons up at his 3rd base to be able to protect that against any sort of massive roach push, which may be coming real soon. Heaven on Earth getting up to 181 food yet again, transferring additional drones to that 4th base. Going to also get up the gas over there to be able to make additional Corruptors, maybe even go for some Broodlords later on in this game. Looks like that army from Heaven on Earth is going to be forced back, And looks like this army from Tenryu is going to take on this army from Heaven on Earth. Going to get a nice spread. Looks like the corruption spell going down on that Colossus. Going to be able to take that out pretty easily. And the corruptors are dead weights in the air. The stalkers are actually shooting at those. And the blink micro being used somewhat effectively against these roaches. Roaches are losing a lot of health. However, they continuing to run forward. Additional roaches also advancing across the field. The roaches forcing all the stalkers back to this base. And Heaven on Earth is going to be able to continue pushing in here, but I don't really like it with this small roach count. He does have the 2-0 upgrades, and it's only against the 1-1 upgrades of our Protoss player. It looks like we have an additional drop into the main from Heaven on Earth. However, the minerals have dried up over there, and additional roaches are being rallied to this expansion. You're going to see if you can take down all of the photon cannons here, maybe even deny that third base. There are no Colossus out on the field right now, and the stalkers are all spread out all over the place, and the blink micro not being used as well as it could. In this case, Heaven on Earth running forth, the Corruptor spotting the high ground, allowing the roaches to shoot over there. Tenryu's forces are falling apart here, going to be blinking back to that natural expansion where the roaches cannot expand, but this expansion over here is in grave danger. The roaches can take this down really quickly. The Nexus making it down into yellow health. Will he focus it down? Looks like he's going to be advancing against those stalkers. And a ton of roaches, 187 food for Heaven on Earth. Tenryu RH is losing this third base and also his hopes of winning this game. He's got one Immortal out in the field. He's warping in additional units to try to take on this Roach army. However, he does not have the Colossus production that he needs. The Immortal going to work on those roaches. However, it's being forced back into the main base, and all the roaches streaming forth into this natural expansion, quickly taking down all the stalkers. Stalkers blinking back as much as they possibly can, but it looks like Heaven on Earth, 195 food, GG out of Tenryu RH, and it goes to Heaven on Earth from Chaos Theory. So Chaos Theory does advance 3-2 to the round of 4, which is also known as the semifinals of the American Pro League. Stay tuned for additional matches coming up. And for those viewing on my YouTube channel, this is Aegis signing off.